Dude, this week has been wild. Okay,
October.
Wild.
We started October.
Like, it makes me want to know if this is like a full moon or like what the hell is going on, right? We start off the week, and we've got Iraq bombing freaking
Iran.
Iran, sorry. Bombing Israel, right? Like, creating wider war over there. We've already got IDF in Yemen doing a ground war. Okay, that's wild. And then Iran bombing the shit out of Iraq. There I go again. Israel. Too many eyes.
Have you been watching?
They need to get some. They need to get some originality over there.
That's
all I'm saying.
I've been watching a lot of Tim Walz. Is what you've been doing.
I'm just a knucklehead, Jesse.
Just a little knucklehead.
I'm just a knucklehead. I'm not good with my words.
This comes at a very interesting time. Obviously, we have an incredibly weak White House. If Iran thinks that they can go ahead and just bomb Israel. Obviously, we have a super weak White House. If Israel is just willy-nilly conducting war across all of its neighbors. Meanwhile, what happened to the Iron Dome? Wasn't the Iron Dome supposed to stop these things?
It was working, just not for all of it. They were launching hundreds of missiles.
This is regular, though. Like, okay, maybe not regular from
not
Iran.
Hundreds of missiles. Not hundreds
from
of missiles.
Hamas and Hezbollah.
I mean, what we went from was like a dude with a slingshot to a dude with an AK-47.
No.
But that's the difference in firepower they were using. They were using various levels of height and range on these missiles. It wasn't just one location. It was multiple locations. It was wild. They were just going ham. It looked like Afghanistan after 9/11 is what it looked like.
Iraq?
Yeah. No, Afghanistan, when we freaking bombed the shit out of them after 9/11.
I thought that was 9/11.
We lit up their sky like the 4th of July.
Okay, anyway.
Toby Keith made a song out of that.
Yeah. All right. I still have this ear of suspicion that suddenly the Iron Dome is more than capable of stopping all these rockets coming in from, close quarters, with having to react within seconds to go stop these things. But suddenly, when they're being broadcast from hundreds of miles away, Iron Dome suddenly not working so well, allowing these missiles to hit places like Tel Aviv. Yeah. Right next to the Mossad, by the way. They're building, for those of you who don't know, the Mossad is the foreign intelligence arm of the of Israel.
So, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
We're definitely gearing up for some
geopolitics going on here right now, and you never know if the leader of Israel, I can't ever say his Netanyahu, wanted the Iron Dome to fail a little bit.
I think he did.
Keeps him in power.
Keeps him in power. Keeps going.
Spreads it wider.
Right.
It gives him a reason to take it to Iran. Meanwhile we're still shoveling money into Iran for oil. It's not helping anything over there.
It's a ridiculous situation we find ourselves in. We have war breaking out in the Middle East. We have all of this shit happening in the United States with, Hurricane Helene coming through and ruining everybody's day, which we'll talk to here in a second. We have increased and more prevalent and awesome pictures of all these UFO sightings happening all over the world now, not just the United States. We have, interestingly, the World Economic Forum is messing with archaeological sites. They're getting involved in archaeology for some interesting reason. They're highly encouraging private companies in Turkey to ensure that Göbekli Tepe, one of the most ancient ruins in the United States, in the world, remains unearthed. I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't get it at all. They have excavated 5% of it, and now they're stopping excavations for 100 years. They have planted olive trees all around the top of the grounds and closed it off. Why? Meanwhile, they just found a new chamber in one of the great pyramids of Giza, Egypt. Full stop. No more. No more investigating. No more looking around. They've stopped all of it. This is all so strange. All of this is so strange. All of this happening all at the same time. I don't know.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. It's been, like I said, wild week. I'm going to say wild about 7 more times. It is my Kamala Harris word of the day.
It's a good word.
The word salad has infected my brain.
It will happen.
So, like, the other thing, and we were talking briefly about this, you know, Biden's administration has already tried pushing a selective draft for all Americans. That's including women, right? So 18 to 24, everybody has to sign up for the military. It failed 34 or 35 to 24, some shit like that. 9 votes, 11 votes, if I could do math. Anyways, it's not good where we're heading, right? We don't want to be heading into a World War III situation. We've already got war, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran now. So basically Israel and the whole Middle East as we're looking at it, right? And then we got China set to freaking pounce on Taiwan, where almost all of our semiconductors come from. Which, if you don't know, semiconductors pretty much power everything in our world, right?
Absolutely.
Which is going to 100% cripple the shit out of us as a country if we can't get semiconductors. So it is quite interesting. It is almost like a checkmate situation.
All over the place. All over the place. I don't think China will invade Taiwan because it will completely obliterate the semiconductor industry, which they desperately rely on. Unless they're
not if they just say you belong to us now, and Taiwan goes, cool, we belong to you now. Taiwan is China, man. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. Taiwan is China. Okay, they are Chinese people. It is ruled by people that another regime in China kicked out of China. They were like, you are the old ruling party. You go to this island and you chill, right? And that is Taiwan. So Taiwan 100% still identifies as Chinese. They speak Chinese. They speak Mandarin. You know, it is still a common people. It would be like if Texas broke off and then like 200 years later we're like, come back. You know, they're still Chinese. So it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to just see them get absorbed back into China. And then China would be like, well, we're going to go ahead and mark up all semiconductor material 200%. If you want it, it's going to cost you. And then we don't have the facilities here running yet. We will in maybe 4 or 5 years, where we're going to have about 50% of the U.S. market for semiconductors again. But it takes time to build these fabs and get them up and running. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
It's true. This was the Chinese Revolution, the Mao Revolution, whatever that was, that popped up in the 50s. So this Taiwan, I mean, whoever lost that civil war, right? They ran to the coast. They were still being pursued by the incoming army, Mao's army, and they're like, fuck it, let's go to the island. And they retreated across to the island, and they're like, okay, we're safe. Meanwhile, the revolution was having to deal with all the land it just conquered and all the people and all the politics and all the government. And so they were too busy. They're like, oh, sweet, the army's gone. Maybe they went to that island. Doesn't fucking matter. We have problems here. Let's just solve that. And everything was hunky-dory until one day they're like, wait, don't we own that island? Aren't they making a shit ton of money right now? Why aren't they paying taxes?
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. And
that's basically what happened.
60 years ago, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times.
Yeah. All right. So John Kerry on the 29th basically said, if Democrats win, we can change the First Amendment to fight disinformation.
I saw that. I was like...
We were just talking about this. Are Democrats really that scared of what people have to say?
Dude, it's a control thing. You know? People in power feel the need to control other people. It gives them a sense of power. It's a gross dynamic that human beings develop, right? Same thing with rapists. They feel like they have a need to control other people, and that's what gives them that pleasure. So it's the same thing. All that censorship, all of that other stuff, it is a need to control other people, and it gives them a sense of power and pleasure, and it's disgusting. So, and I will go on record.
He lamented on record, our First Amendment stands as a major block.
I know. He says that out loud.
He said that out loud.
What government official says the First Amendment sucks? We need to get rid of it.
Yep.
And is not immediately kicked out of power.
I have no idea.
Dude, if Trump said we need to get rid of the First Amendment, there would be riots in the street.
Not to mention every Republican would just stop backing him immediately.
Could you imagine? They'd be like, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Go straight to jail. All 94 indictments? Yeah, 100%. You're going to jail.
Yet our friends voting Kamala Harris seem to be A-okay with this. I don't get it. Maybe
I don't get it either.
We're mistaken. Maybe they actually are not okay with doing away with 1A. And 2A for that matter. Maybe this is just some marketing hype. I don't know.
I don't know. There's something called a Freudian slip. I know Freud was like widely discredited, and you shouldn't, but some of the things still stick. And when you say a word or an ideology or phrase, whatever, enough, it comes through sometimes when you don't mean to. And all of this crap that the Democrats are letting slip, they're talking about behind closed doors. Too much. Way too much. And I'm not all about that life, Jesse. I don't want to have to shut down this podcast just because some asshole on the internet tells me I'm speaking a little bit too much on the right.
Right. Could happen. Could absolutely happen.
It very easily could happen.
Best Freudian slip of the whole year, though, happened during the vice presidential debate. To quote Tim Walz, I'm friends with school shooters.
The guy can't win. The guy cannot win. Like, man. In that debate, he said almost the opposite of what he was trying to say twice, right? And he was trying to say that he's friends with people who survived school shooters, I believe. But it just went straight to school shooters. And you're like, come again, sir? Come again? And, the other one was right there on the tip of my tongue, but I've already lost it again. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. But it's just like so aggravating. That debate was so good. Watching J.D. Vance really come out into his own on that debate stage was amazing. He was winning over Democrats, man. There are liberal Democrats that were like, I'd vote for that guy.
He was doing good. He did a good job.
He was doing
polite.
Great.
He was eloquent.
Great. Yeah.
He's not befriending school shooters.
He's not.
So, I mean, Tim Walz was really just his own worst enemy on that debate stage. J.D. Vance could have just stepped back and just let him just speak.
Yeah.
Let him on that debate.
I mean, goodness gracious. And then he's like talking about, being over in China during those Tiananmen Square riots and stuff like that. 6 months later, whatever. It's not a big deal.
Right.
I'm sure the riots were still going on, the protests and stuff like that 6 months later. He wasn't in the fucking action, though.
No.
He's at the tail end of it. I don't know.
Meanwhile,
the guy's a tool.
There was so much. We could just talk about his governorship. So it's a complete disaster.
It's a disaster.
Let me see if I can find a quote.
I was listening to somebody on the radio today talking about how, they wish that J.D. Vance had brought up the fact that his city burned for 3 whole days during the George Floyd riots. And, mostly black neighborhoods that were on fire.
Right.
And how they wished that they had talked about how his abortion laws were and JD Vance kind of covered a little bit, but Tim Walz immediately was like, no, it's untrue. But there was a lot of stuff that they could have got into. But it was a civil debate, and a lot of people like that too. And I honestly, it was definitely a change of pace than listening to Trump, which was kind of nice. I won't deny that.
To your point, though, there was more damage done in Minnesota during those protests, during the BLM protests, than during January 6th.
Oh, easy.
Crazy, right? Like,
easy.
The city was burning.
Even in your neck of the woods over in Portland on that federal courthouse, how they had 50 or 60, 70 straight days of rioting where they were burning buildings, federal courthouses, all kinds of stuff.
Seattle had the CHOP. I can't remember what it stands for.
Yeah, the Chaz.
Chaz, yeah. The something autonomous zone. Yeah, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Dude, there was so many rapes and assaults during that. What was it, a month that they were independent from the U.S. government? That's wild.
It happens. So to go back to some more of that to Tim Walz stuff though. So in this video where he's addressing I don't know some audience, I can't remember. I don't remember where it's exactly, but he's talking about the things that he did well. He brags about how he is overwhelming small town America with migrants. And to quote, he says, "We have more refugees per capita than any other state. We're not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see in Worthington, when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in school." This guy could not be more naive. And just look at what's happening to Ohio, right? Look what's happening all over the country where immigrants are outnumbering just the local residents. It's not good. I appreciate you want your mixing bowl of culture, but what about the people who live there, who grew up there, who actually use all the services, who support those services, they pay taxes and build the roads? What about them?
Forgotten.
Totally forgotten.
You don't care. They don't care about you today.
No.
But, 50 language being spoken in a classroom. They're all saying the same thing. What? They can't understand each other. How are they supposed to fucking learn?
Exactly.
How's a teacher supposed to communicate and connect with 50 separate languages being spoken? And why are there 50 people in one classroom? I remember school, you fucking put 15 to 20 kids in a classroom and it was unruly.
Easily.
Okay. Now you got 50 speaking separate languages. Couldn't even imagine the chaos. Couldn't even imagine.
Pure, unadulterated chaos. It's anyway. I'm not sure what he plans on doing, but I pray to God. I'm starting to get really worried about this election.
Dude, if they win, Argentina, let's do it.
Have to. So let's see here. What was the latest? There's some more great figures that you're gonna love, and this is pretty common. Kind of leading up into any election, but we're seeing record numbers of people entering the voter roll that are unregistered. So these people, here, 1 second. Let me see if I just had it and I hit a button and now it's gone.
That'll happen.
Yeah, okay, here it is. All right. So the U.S. Social Security Administration website shows massive amounts of people registering to vote without IDs in key and swing states. So in Texas, we had 37,000, Pennsylvania, 82,000 this week alone. In Arizona, 102,000, Missouri, 125,000, in Georgia, 7,000, North Carolina, 18,000, and in Nevada, almost 2,000. Just this week. And that's the law in this country. We should probably maybe list the things that require ID in this country, just so that everybody's on the same page. You need an ID in the United States to board a plane, get a prescription, apply for a job, cash a check, apply for food stamps. If you want to drive, guess what? You need an ID. Want to get married? You need an ID. You want to adopt a pet? You need an ID. You want to buy some alcohol? You need an ID. Want to vote? No ID.
Come right on
Come
in.
on in.
You forgot one. You want to go into the DNC? Need a fucking ID.
Yeah. And for those of you who do not remember this, that was ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
It really
they even put
does.
up a wall. They even put up a damn wall, Jesse.
They built a wall around the DNC convention and required every entrant to have an ID. In stark
There was a
contrast to their
Venezuelan
policy on the
migrant that
border.
tried to get in. Venezuelan migrant tried to get into the DNC, and he was denied because he didn't have an ID.
Amazing.
You hear about the biggest recipients of pharma money from 1990 to 2024?
No.
They did a poll.
Mm-mm.
You want to guess who's on it?
Lay it up.
Okay. Mitt Romney, number 1. Well, he's number 5. Okay. $3 million. Kamala Harris, $4 million. Hillary Clinton, $4.5 million. Barack Obama, just shy of $6 million. And good old Joe, $9 million effing dollars.
Wow.
Big pharma kickbacks.
Not bad. Not bad.
That's a good freaking payday. You
Sure
know,
is.
and I have to give it to Joe. He's been in service for 50 years. So that was 1990 to 2024. That's only 34 years. I'm sure he was getting more before 1990. So his number's probably larger.
Not to mention all the other kickbacks he's getting.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just one
dude.
of the big
That's
industries.
the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg for that family.
Right.
You know, when their grandchildren getting checks for, $100,000, $200,000 from Russia, it's like, what? Why?
You'll be
That
happy.
doesn't make any sense.
You'll be happy to hear that Kamala Harris announced that for all the people whose lives have been destroyed by Hurricane Helene, she's going to work with FEMA to allow these individuals to register for $750.
Yay.
Your whole family might be dead. You might be surviving on the roof, on the top of your roof. But here's $750, which is going to do jack shit for you.
I don't even think
have
you
no
can buy
house.
enough groceries for a month with that.
No.
Like, if you don't have running water, now you got to buy bottled water, canned water, whatever, right? You don't have anywhere to cook, so now you're buying jerky and shit. Like,
You have no house. You have no car.
there's probably no damn store for them to buy anything.
And this is not a month. This is not per month. This is just $750 one time.
I get you. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, you can't even buy a full month's worth of groceries, let alone the fact that all of your worldly possessions are now gone. Your car is gone, your house is gone, everything's gone. Right? These people are destitute. Like, that is terrifying. It is terrifying to see the level of devastation that happened over there.
Where is
that storm.
FEMA? Where's the United States government? Where's the National Guard? Where are all these people? Aren't they supposed to be right in helping?
They got into a big old circle and shoved each other's heads up someone else's ass.
Why aren't they there? Do you have any idea?
Don't know. Joe Biden literally said that's all the money they're going to get.
What money?
They've $750. That's all the money they're going to get. He's already given them everything he's going to give them.
That's
Meanwhile,
exactly what he said.
cutting more and more money over to the Ukraine. More money to Israel.
It should be criminal. It should be
criminal.
totally criminal. It's the most
Should be
un-American thing he could have possibly done. Send
Should
that
be
money.
criminal. There's something like
overseas.
200 people already dead over there in 72 hours, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more.
Oh,
There's
more
people
and more.
that have been without water for 6 days. Up in some of those, I guess they call them haulers. I don't think I said it properly, but
on the holler. Yeah, no, you said it right.
yeah, I said it white as shit from the north for sure.
Yeah, you don't have a holler up in Idaho. And they're proud of this fact. They're very, very proud of the fact that that they're sending $750. And they're not even it's not even, you have to apply for it. They're not going to seek you out to help you. No, you got to go onto a website and apply for it. Assuming you have power and internet and a computer to go do these things, or a cell phone. It's unbelievable.
I mean, they probably should just create him a phone app You know, they couldn't do that for the migrants. Why can't they do that for all these people out there if you still have a fucking phone and something to power your phone?
Exactly. The fact is this, is that we're sending billions of dollars overseas. Families are suffering here in the United States over this hurricane. Suffering. And they can't seem to help. Apparently, after most of these types of disasters, you have people. I can't remember the name of the agency, but FEMA coordinates with various companies to find truckers to bring in goods, disaster relief to these areas. None of that is happening. That all those communications networks to actually ensure that these truckers are hauling goods into the area. Truckers are saying we're not getting those orders. We were standing by like we do every single hurricane. Didn't get a single. And then the few people that did, suddenly their tires are being slashed trying to get into the state. Did you hear about
Wow.
this? Yeah. A few of these truckers going in were stopped because they stopped to get gas or something like that, and all of their tires would get slashed.
Wow.
So they couldn't go serve the people. Again, that's never happened before either. Did you hear about the helicopter pilot? So a helicopter pilot in, I believe it was in Tennessee. This guy, former sheriff, just kind of like awesome, current awesome dude, former sheriff doing Lord knows what, has his own helicopter. And he heard that there's a whole bunch of people stuck in the mountains. So he and his son get in the helicopter, load it up with Gatorades and waters and food and stuff like that, and fly out. They start just doing these round trips, food in, people out, food in, people out. Well, a local fire chief saw him doing this and waited for him to come back and threatened to arrest him if he went back. And he's like, why? He's like, this is a no-fly zone. And the former sheriff was like, what do you mean? Or former officer, I'm not sure, but he's like, what do you mean it's a no-fly zone? There are people stranded up there. I have a helicopter. I have food. I have water. Why would you want to prevent me from doing that? And he's like, it's illegal. Don't go out there or I'll have you arrested. He threatened to arrest the dude. And he literally had to stop. And so it's unbelievable.
That guy should be fired. That guy should be found and fired. Like,
agreed?
Maybe shot.
It's one of the many things that's happening on the ground over there that don't make any sense. No FEMA. Oh, did you hear also another weird coincidence? The storm hit what, the 29th?
Yeah, it's been 29th or 30th.
Yeah, something like that. 29th,
I think
30th.
I want to say it was like Sunday or Monday.
What is this? The Tennessee Army National Guard's 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment left fucking Tennessee on the 28th to go to Kuwait for a mission that's going to last a year.
Wow.
This is the 5th largest regiment in the National Guard in the United States. And right before this storm hits, coincidentally, they're shipped out and left in Tennessee, one of the most impacted areas of the entire storm. So all those guys, let's see here, let's see how many of them. I don't know, however many 100 National Guardsmen not in the state to support the state in their time of need. They're in Kuwait. Actually, no, they're in Texas. They're in Texas, getting ready to go to Kuwait.
And they can't bop back over because they've already got orders.
Yeah, from the National Guard. And they could reverse these orders and say, oh, we need to take care of our own. No. They're going to the Middle East with the billions of dollars. Not into Tennessee, not with the billions of dollars to help their people. I'm telling you, this stinks. There's so much corruption, mismanagement. It's unbelievable. Why would anybody want to vote for this administration after, in the face of all of this? How much more do you need?
We're looking at every single institution within this administration being abso-fucking-lutely incompetent. Absolutely incompetent. Every single person that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has put into power is incompetent. There's not one single one of them that's doing a good job at the higher levels. Right? It is out of control. I can't wrap my brain around this shit, Jesse. I really can't. We got the Secret Service failing at every turn, right? Not the people on the ground, the leadership, right? I'm not talking about the people that are trying to do good work. I'm talking about the people who are coordinating everything from a higher level. FEMA is supposed to be on the ground within hours, surveying and figuring out what they need. We're 3 days into this crap. 3 days. And there's still not enough help out there.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
Okay. These poor people have lost everything. And what worries me is like knowing how insurance companies work, right? If they didn't have hurricane insurance, they're going to say it's an act of God and they're not going to cover these people. They're going to lose everything in this area.
They absolutely will. They absolutely will. And the government's not there to help them.
No. The government is there to help everyone else around the world, but not Americans.
I don't know if we're appreciating the irony of the situation. We have installed a socialist government that is being socialist for everybody in the planet except its own people. We're shipping all that goodwill elsewhere while we're letting our own people in Tennessee and North Korea and Georgia to rot. Literally just rot.
That's the lie, Jesse. They tell you that socialism will work for you, but it doesn't. We know what socialism does because we were in the military. We know what it is. You become a cog, you become a number, and the moment that you don't work for the government anymore, they get rid of you. Right? I've seen it happen to a lot of people. Just, boop, see ya.
And here we are. Meanwhile, in Georgia, former President Trump showed up and literally started having his own disaster briefings.
Yeah.
Because Joe Biden wasn't there. Kamala Harris wasn't there. Senior members of FEMA weren't there. He was there.
He dropped 24 mil. Here you go.
Yep. On top of that, he started a GoFundMe, which a whole bunch of people donated to.
Yeah.
To, like millions of dollars through his GoFundMe to also support this. Yeah. It's insane that a private citizen is having to do this work that our government can't do.
I mean, eventually it's going to come down to the fact that the only way anything ever gets done is by private citizens doing the work of the government. I think that's how the government in the first place got started, right?
Did you hear in Tennessee, excuse me, in Tennessee, people were getting texts from the local FEMA deployment urging them to, one, don't donate their time to each other, stay indoors, wait for FEMA instruction. Two, don't donate goods to your local community. Donate them to FEMA because FEMA is the authority here and they will redistribute them as they see fit. Three, definitely don't donate money to anybody. If you're going to donate any money, donate it to FEMA so that they can obviously not redisperse it. This was the instruction that was given to these people. And they're like, fuck do you mean don't help your neighbor? Of course we're going to help our neighbor. Of course we're going to do these things. So they basically gave FEMA the giant middle finger. They're not even there anyway, but here we are.
I hate to say it, but like the people coming together down in that region, the reason that, that region recovers from hurricanes and everything so fast is because everybody pools together because they've all been hit by a hurricane real bad at some point. And so everybody down there that didn't get hit this time around goes to the place that got hit. And then they pool their resources and they get everybody back up on their feet. They get the power back up and running. They get the water back up and running. It's just what they do. It makes me feel bad for places like Puerto Rico, right, that gets hit by a hurricane, but they're on an island. They don't have anybody that can just roll up in their 4x4 and give them a hand. You got to get on a plane or a boat. And that's really hard to do. That's hard to do. It's hard to get your equipment over there. It's hard to get anybody over there to give you a hand and get you up and running again quickly.
Their fellow Puerto Ricans can. And they do.
They didn't. It took them way too long.
Again,
the last time they got hit hard.
Lack of resources, but they band together. So obviously what we're saying, vote these people out. Vote them out. We don't want another 4 years of this because I don't think we survive it. I think this country's doomed.
Perfectly reasonable to make that connection, Jesse. A lot of people on TikTok and YouTube will disagree with both of us, like they have been this last couple of weeks. But, you know, when you look at things critically and you look and see how these agencies are running, right? You just watch stumble after stumble after stumble, and no one's getting fired. 2017, Jesse and I were making fun of Trump for firing everyone constantly. Oh, there goes another one. Oh, there goes another one. Is he ever going to have a functioning cabinet? Is he ever going to have a functioning government? Is it every week going to be a Senate confirmation hearing for the next 4 years?
And it was.
It was. But you want to know what? The government worked a hell of a lot better 8 years ago than it does now.
It's not functioning now.
It's not functioning, right? Because they know they can't get fucking fired for incompetency. They know they're not going anywhere.
Right.
They could kill their mothers in front of frickin' their fathers and still not go to jail.
Nobody's
Right?
going to jail, which is partly one of the problems. Whenever Kamala says crime is down at record lows, it's because you're not arresting anybody. You're decriminalizing everything.
Yeah. If you don't report a crime, it never happened.
If nothing's a crime in the first place, there's nothing to report.
Yeah. You can't say that stuff, you know? It's like when they talk about COVID and things like that too. I'm not going to get into it deeply because I don't want to get another episode banned. But if you don't report it, or if you over-report it, that changes the numbers. The same with fucking crime. It's not that hard to fucking understand. It shouldn't be that hard to understand. Right?
And here we are.
Arguing with idiots on the internet, which I shouldn't be arguing with idiots on the internet.
There's a lot of them.
Dude, I work like 12 hours a day. I take one fucking break and I look at YouTube or TikTok or something like that. I spend 30 minutes of my freaking valuable break arguing with idiots. I don't know why I do it.
Don't do it.
I'm done doing it for a little bit. I'm done.
If you want to, so we're sitting here trying to talk about how important it is to vote these people out. However, this massive scandal broke out in Arizona this week. They found 218,000 voters that had been wrongly marked as having provided proof of citizenship due to an error. Guess who was not removed from the ballots?
Not them. Not 218,000 people.
They're allowed to vote, even though there is no proof of citizenship supplied with the roll. Arizona's not going to do anything about it.
Dude, them picking Katie Hobbs over Kari Lake was the biggest mistake they've ever made down there in Arizona. They're not going to have a good state to live in shortly.
Not like this. Not if they keep going down this road.
They're going to be a failed state, much like New York and California are.
They're on their way. I mean, there's not much to fail. It's Phoenix and Tucson. That's it.
They got the whole Navajo Nation down there, you know. Those people don't even have running water on their freaking territory. You know.
Exactly.
And they keep voting the wrong people into power. People that are not trying to help them and do not care about them. You know. The government is fairly uncaring no matter who you have in power, right? But instead of trying to vote things that make sense to you emotionally, you should be voting in things that will help everyone succeed from a level playing field. That way your efforts don't go to waste if you're actually trying. You know, you want equality from the government, not equity. You don't want the same outcome, which is everybody in the poorhouse, because that's what inevitably it's going to go to. So I don't know. It makes me sad. It makes me really, really sad to see all of this shit happening. And I'm like, what are you thinking? What is going on in your noggin? Are you just like, ooh, a butterfly?
I mean, it's active corruption at this point. There is an agenda. I just don't see it.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I really, truly think that China, Russia, Iran, people that have money, are actively interfering with our culture and our lives. I really truly believe that.
We're very susceptible to corruption here. Well, everybody's susceptible to corruption. We just really like it.
The American way of life has always been about money, right? We look at the almighty dollar, and it's kind of replaced a lot of our values in this country. And I'm not any better. I 100% chase cash. 100% chase cash. And maybe I shouldn't,
It's hard not to do. You want your house, you want the fam, you want the ranch, you want the whatever. And everything's becoming so damn expensive that you have no other choice.
Yeah.
You have no other choice. We were talking about the illegal immigration crisis that's befalling the border. ICE came out with that report, basically said of these 660,000 people, here's the breakdown of what category of illegal criminal they are, right?
Right.
To recap, with 680,000, 660,000 people that
Real
had
close
crossed
to
the border
700,000.
illegally, right? They were criminals to some degree. This is coming from ICE, the official ICE department. They're talking about their own fucking statistics, okay?
Yeah.
These people know better than anybody else. They are the primary article. They're the primary source of immigration coming to this country.
Yep. A
reporter asked KJP, the White House press secretary, asked, like, hey, there are 15,000 people who have been convicted of murder who have crossed the border illegally. And KJP is like, hey, this has been fact-checked and this is misinformation. This is misinformation. It's been debunked and been falsely represented, is her response. And Ducey was like, can you clarify what you mean by misrepresented? And no, she could not. Our own government. So this is, again, you can see the White House struggling to defend this completely fake narrative. Completely fake narrative. When they start accusing ICE of manufacturing numbers and spreading propaganda across the country about the failing border. It's crazy. They want us to believe that the border is super secure and nobody's crossing. That's what they want us to believe, when it's complete horseshit.
Yeah. And I've heard some speculation that some of that numbers is from Trump's time in office as well. But we already know that not a lot of people were crossing into the country to begin with under Trump, comparatively to what is happening now. So even if a bare minimum of the amount of people that are crossing into the country under Trump or now, you can see if it was the same percentage, like say it's 5%, 2%, whatever. You can look at the numbers and see that more people are crossing the border under this administration than the previous administration. So if it's 2%, that means there's more of these bad elements coming across during Biden and Harris's administration than under Trump's administration. And I'm kind of hoping that ICE clarifies 100% what the time frame of these
it's in
numbers
the document.
Is it
May 2023 to the end of July 2024. It's in the document.
One effing year, we had almost 700,000 criminals coming to the country.
That's what it says. Well, let's see here. I would have to dig more into it.
Okay.
Let's see here. It is. You're right. It is unclear, but these are the time frames that they're saying. So this is this is the national docket data for non-citizens by criminality in most serious charge categories as of July 21, 2024, and it looks like the data goes back
like 30 years or some shit like that.
The earliest date in this document, okay, is October 1st, 2020.
Okay.
So that's as reported in the document. That's the earliest it could possibly be according to the doc. I mean,
well, even if we have 700,000 people over the last 4 years and 1 year being under Trump, we know there was not a lot of people coming across during COVID.
Especially at the end of his presidency, that number was at its lowest levels.
Right. Because people were actually terrified of bringing in illegals that haven't been vaccinated.
Yes.
Right. So,
In any case, it's a disaster, is what this is.
unmitigated. I can't wrap my brain around a lot of what's going on in our country. Just we could probably talk, just if we were listing everything that is going wrong, we could probably talk at about an hour. Just bare surface, just bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. We could probably talk about it for a fucking hour. And
Easily.
our government isn't designed to run at this level. The states are supposed to be running most of this because it is an impossible job to run the federal government to such a fine-tuned degree to handle all of this bullshit. And yet the federal government is literally handcuffing all of its agencies and the states from doing anything. You don't think that Texas couldn't fucking secure their border? They absolutely fucking could. Same with Arizona and California and New Mexico. They absolutely could. But the
All those
federal
boys
government
down
is
there,
standing.
they want to use those guns. They
Yeah.
want to go patrol.
Yeah.
You don't need a single goddamn ICE person. Just let the locals handle it.
Man, maybe you'd get varying degrees of how they handle it.
Oh, you would.
California would probably throw them a parade as they walked right in, and Texas might be shooting at them. We don't know.
Oh, we know that's true. We already know that is both true. Speaking of California, you want some more ineptitude from you. Governor Newsom signed a bill into law that bars local governments from enacting laws to require residents to show a valid form of identification in order to vote. So they went extreme. So now they say, hey, don't worry about voter ID, but now they're making it illegal for you, for a local government to say you need an ID. It's just going worse and worse in California. The state is just out of control. I don't know why do you want to live in that state anymore? Hollywood's moving out. Hollywood is moving out to like places like Nevada
and Florida,
anywhere else. Like Twitter, X, they're moving out. They're going to they went to Texas.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. Apple's gonna eventually have to leave.
I mean, it's going to be funny to watch Silicon Valley go Google, find a new headquarters. Actually, they're building a headquarters here in Boise. So maybe Boise's going to be where most of those people end up.
Maybe. We got a whole bunch of them here in Seattle, too.
I would like to say
insane, but
I would like to say that Idaho wouldn't go freaking nuts if something like that happened, but we'll be the next blue freaking stronghold before we know it here. Dude, if you got everybody that's an idiot from California moving over to Idaho, yeah. There's like 55 million people in California.
They're leaving the insanity, sir. They're going away because it's not worked. They have fucked that state, right, by voting stupid shit in. Now they're in Idaho, and now they're like, oh shit, we don't have to live like an insane person. We don't have to deal with just drug addicts and gangsters and whatnot roaming the streets.
For today, dude, California 20 years ago was awesome.
Yeah.
And look at what it is today.
Yep.
It didn't happen overnight, Jesse.
Just I'm crossing my fingers that Idaho shows them the light. Like, hey, right? Not to say there's a lot wrong with Idaho. There's a lot wrong with Idaho. Not gonna even start.
We are a backwards people. A little bit backwards, but I have come to appreciate it. Like when I was young, I was like, I cannot wait to get out of the state. I need to get out of here. Fast forward 20 years, and I'm like, I kind of miss the old Idaho. I miss smoking in the bars and smoking in the restaurants. And, shit, they're one of my favorite restaurants. You could smoke in it until about 4 years ago. It was great. Go in there and eat the greasiest freaking chicken fried steak you've ever had in your entire life. It's the best breakfast.
I remember freedom. I don't know.
I remember freedom too.
I went from Seattle to Pensacola, Florida, and then back in 5 days. I did that round trip in 5 days. One of the places we stopped at on the way back, I remember being asked smoking or non-smoking. I was like, what? Is this still a thing? And sure enough, people were smoking on the bar. I was like, this is amazing. I'm like, not smoking.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. I don't smoke a lot, but I miss having freedom. You know, I miss not having to find a smoke pit 50 feet from any door, and there's doors everywhere. Right. And they always put them in the middle of a parking lot next to no trees and trash can.
It's gotten insane. This is a really good example of just kind of like that freedom just being evaporated, right?
They make it uncomfortable. They make it uncomfortable, so you have to choose to live the way that they want you to live.
Yeah. It's not even like, who are you impacting, right? If you're smoking, right? Really nobody. I mean,
if you're smoking outdoors, man, you're not going to give anybody secondhand smoke or any kind of cancer or whatever the hell they say.
Rather debunked?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't followed up on it enough to care.
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure at some point they tried to do a study to prove that secondhand smoking was like just terrible, and if you were, whatever. But yeah, they really couldn't find good examples of it. But hey,
I think that if you're in a closed environment and there's not a lot of ventilation, just like COVID and stuff like that, once you have too much saturation of something, it's probably not good for you.
That's called hotboxing, and that's not what they mean.
I've got a buddy that likes to chain smoke, and I sat next to him on a 2-day road trip, and the guy didn't have 5 minutes without a cigarette in his mouth. And I got done with that road trip, and I was like, I can't smell smoke ever again. I'm dying.
There's just take your ivermectin. Are you watching these studies?
I haven't dove into the studies in a couple weeks since we talked about it last.
Crazy. More and more now is surfacing that ivermectin is this cancer fighting miracle drug, and nobody knows why. Yeah. And more importantly, like if you're listening to this and you do have, if you have cancer or someone in your family has cancer, start taking ivermectin immediately. Don't tell your doctors about it though, because they'll make you stop, because they're idiots and they're not paying attention to the latest medicine. What's actually happening is that ivermectin is literally taking people that are in stage 4, whatever, into remission, over a few months. It's absolutely insane. Doctors don't know why. People are just now digging into it. They're trying to figure out why this miracle drug that started off as an anti-parasitic, that's now an antiviral, is now fighting cancers. Like, what is happening with ivermectin?
They're talking that most of the cancer cells in your body is your body's reaction to viruses and worms, unfortunately. It's just parasites within your body. So
maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe.
Super interesting.
I mean, obviously don't take medical advice from us. I don't want to get
Please,
sued.
God, don't.
But look into it for yourself. Read some primary articles, make a decision on your own, right? Talk to a doctor, but also realize that doctor could be a fucking idiot. DEI is a real thing. They have lowered the standards for doctors. So
they won't. And plus, there's nowhere in their training, nowhere in their studies have they learned anything other than like your standard chemotherapy treatments and what have you to address cancer.
Right.
Ivermectin is still new. Like, we're still learning about it. But if you're watching social media, you're finding more and more studies of people diving into showing these crazy benefits that now legitimate doctors are looking into. They're like, oh wow, this is interesting. We should totally study this. And they are. Yeah. And they're finding lots of cool things. Again, we're not doctors. We're not telling you to do anything. Go educate yourself.
Yeah, just do a little light reading, Take an hour, read a couple studies. It doesn't take that long. And if you're not very good at primary articles, you could read a secondary article. Whatever.
Watch some X videos. Watch some YouTube videos.
Yeah. Plug it into Chat GPT.
Yep.
Get the highlights. Get the cliff notes.
I think the last thing that's on my mind that I want to talk about real quick before we bail. Harold Daggett is the leader of the Longshoremen Association, whatever the
Yeah.
ILA.
All
All right.
Yeah.
So he's the one that's out there saying, like, you know, hey, I'm going to cripple the economy. I'm fighting for my people. They need to make more money. It's not fair that these ports are making all this cash, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, the average longshoreman is making $143,000 a year with over $30,000 in medical benefits every year, which is way more than the average American.
Yeah.
Way more. I know a lot of people, actually, most of my friends are making less than that. So this guy is the one that's leading the strike. Just found out that last year he made over $900,000. $728,000 of that came from the ILA, and $173,000 of that came as the president of a local branch of this union. Okay. This dude drives a Bentley and just recently sold his 76-foot yacht, which he called Obsession. This dude, there's no way this guy is not just the most corrupt, mob-connected dude out there. They need to do a story about this. Guy needs his own Netflix story. We need The Sopranos, but the Daggets.
A little part of me is like, their union is in charge of about 50% of the country's imports, correct? Exports, imports.
East Coast,
50%. That's a lot of revenue flowing through that organization. I understand them getting a small piece of that, right? Because just like with basketball teams, if you have a basketball team that makes a lot of money, their players make more money, right? So in any industry, if your industry makes a lot of money, the employees usually get more of a benefit from that. So I can kind of understand these blue collar guys working in a very high volume, very well paid organization, making a lot of money, even though there's no difference between them as a crane operator or a rigger or whatever the hell they're doing in these ports to make this money than somebody who's working on an oil platform or wherever, you know, other than the industry that they're currently in. And I'm sure it's freaking impossible to get a job with these people because of how much money they're making. I'm sure they have never been short-staffed a day in their damn lives.
No.
With how much money they're making. So it seems like a pretty damn good gig to me. And it seems like in this one case, maybe the union is doing its job and making sure their people are getting paid, which is also why he's getting paid and hasn't been voted out. Who knows?
In 2005.
I don't appreciate that he's basically holding the U.S. economy hostage. I'm not a big fan of that. And I don't appreciate the arrogance that comes out of his mouth when he talks about it. That part does not sit well with me.
In 2005, this dude was dragged into court by the Department of Justice, okay, with all sorts of RICO charges. Okay, this guy was going to go down. They had a witness. His guy name was Lawrence Ricci, a mobster, a made man. This guy was going to basically spill the beans, and Mr. fucking Daggett was going to go see some serious jail time. Well. Come the day where Mr. Ricci was supposed to stand and deliver his testimony, he didn't show up.
Gone.
Guess what? They didn't find him for 3 weeks. But we did find Mr. Ricci, thank God, so he could come and deliver his testimony. False! They found him decomposing in the trunk of a car in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Mr. Daggett, that looks really good. That looks really, really good. This guy's on the up and up. Literally handled... I don't think there could have been a more mob way of handling this problem. I mean,
Probably
literally,
not.
the day of the trial...
Probably not.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's... anyway, we could go into this guy's story because it's fucking nuts. It's truly, truly crazy. He's just swimming in mobsters and around his inner circle.
Yeah.
So, the mob is still very much alive and well, ladies and gentlemen. Just because they're no longer shooting up the streets of Chicago doesn't mean they just suddenly vanished, right? The 5 families do exist, of which this guy is very closely associated with one of them. So,
well, maybe let's not say their names on here.
Yeah.
I appreciate my life and everything in it. I'm not about to murder myself.
Right. But what a way to go, Zach. if you had to die, that'd be one of like it's got to be my top 10. Taken out by a
Put some concrete shoes on and taking a walk off a shore pier.
Yeah, why not? Damn, it'd be cool. I'd be a little smile on my face as I'm being executed by the
You're
mob.
like irony. I can appreciate it.
Yeah. Trust me, I'd much rather go out like that than in many other ways. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got nothing else. That's just my top of mind for this godforsaken October 2nd.
I mean, we are literally 3 days into this week, and this is everything that's happened just in the last 3 days. That is insane.
Yes,
insane. We talked for an hour, and we really didn't even dive into anything.
How many like the election? What are we sitting at?
Oh, 32. Let me pull it up real quick.
I got it. 33. 33 days, 5 hours, 25 minutes, and 2 seconds. We are speed running towards extinction. I'm telling you, something's going to happen, Zach. We're not done. We're not done. We have the Convey, Georgia chemical plant fire that basically exploded and is now raining chlorine gas all over the whole fucking state. Hurricane Helene comes in, no FEMA backing them up. We got California going crazy, enacting laws to ensure people can't vote with voter ID. Arizona's, just exhibiting all sorts of craziness with their 218,000 people coming on the rolls. We got increased UFO activity. We had the lockdown of all of these goddamn ancient archaeological sites across the planet that we're no longer allowed to visit or excavate. Meanwhile, the Middle East is blowing up again.
33
days before the fucking election.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good.
I don't like it. I don't like any of it.
No, we might see an escalation over in Ukraine here before too long. You might see something popping off with China here before too long. You know what's going to be really sad is if China does have the ability to shut down our utilities over here in America, which is something that a lot of people have been worried about, is that they will hack into key infrastructure within our utility network and shut down, because they've got like 6-to-1 hackers over there, something like that ratio between China and America. And they get in, knock out a bunch of utilities, and then ransom it back to us for Taiwan.
Luckily, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Having literally looked into this myself.
I know it's your bread and butter.
This is actually my bread and butter. Yeah, I was concerned. I will say this. I was massively concerned. And then I made some phone calls into like the Corps of Engineers and some other people who are actually responsible for securing the nation's infrastructure, at least our power and water. And we had a meeting where we kind of walked through, we diagrammed out a lot of the core infrastructure and how you actually connect to it. And it was fairly secure. Obviously, it's still very much, without giving too much detail, it'd be much easier for somebody to come in, boots on the ground, and literally walk into a power plant and start it up.
Yeah.
That would be easy. Remote, a little more difficult. We've actually done an okay job in ensuring that you're not going to conduct an attack on an American electrical power plant through the internet. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
I hope, because I've heard that it's not just the power plants, it's our water facilities, it's our ports. Yeah. A lot of these cranes that we have in our ports were Chinese made and manufactured, and they were finding security loopholes within them.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And it's kind of crazy to think, that we still allow our major facilities, let's just say facilities within our country, to be purchased from outside of the country without any kind of rigorous testing done on them. Kind of the easy button. So hopefully there's no backdoors or anything like that, because I do worry about that shit, Jesse. And I know that we hope that it's better.
Do you want the bad news? The really bad news?
No. Hit me with it.
Okay. Are you familiar with the company TP-Link?
No.
You might have a TP-Link router in your house right now.
I might.
So TP-Link, they make all sorts of they make networking switching gear. All right, anything from little baby switches and routers that you have in your house to big ginormous things that you might install in a massive AT&T telco. Okay,
right.
This is a company that is owned. It's founded by two Chinese brothers that are working directly with the Chinese state. And now the question you have to ask, well, they're not working directly for the Chinese state, but they're just a state-owned, just like everything else in China.
Everything over there is state-owned.
The problem is they have chased all of these other companies like Netgear out of their markets. How do they do this? So they're selling this stuff cheaper than anybody could possibly make it.
Right.
And it's going the United States market, the European market, just worldwide. It's available everywhere. These national competitors cannot compete because the prices are so fucking low. The reason why they're so fucking low, at least this is my humble opinion, is that these TP-Link routers, they're the manufacturing is all basically paid for, subsidized rather, by China. The Chinese government subsidizing the manufacturing of these devices, which are then able to be sold at just crazy cheap prices. Like, for example, a router that you might get from ASUS that would cost you, I don't know, $600, they would sell the equivalent of that for about $180, $190. There's no market there. There's no way that you can, if you're a consumer,
compete
you're going to
that.
get the thing that's $180, not the thing that's $600.
Yeah.
These are riddled with backdoors.
Yeah.
These things, they now own the market, and these devices are everywhere,
Right.
all across the United States, all across Europe, in houses and homes, and your small offices, medium offices, big businesses, small businesses. God forbid, somebody in a telco put this in their closet because it was a cheap solution to his little problem. There is so
You got to watch out for their bottom lines, Jesse. So we just watched Israel's attack, right, on Hezbollah and Hamas, which went all the way over to Iran, right, with the pagers.
Right.
How do we know that China doesn't do something similar?
It'd be very easy.
Apparently, outprice everybody else. Put one of these in everybody's fucking homes. Pop. A little bit of conspiracy theory for you.
They don't want to do that, though. They don't want to blow up these devices. They just want to capture every packet and inspect and read every packet. That's what they're doing with them.
I read a lot of books. Russian books, Chinese books, American books, South Korean books. I enjoy reading novels and books from other countries. I enjoy the perspective. Okay. And I was talking to one of my coworkers from Taiwan today, and we were talking about what the Chinese consider is like the law of the jungle, basically. And it is a viewpoint of the fittest that is the strongest, right? Whether it's popularity, money, whatever. And the weak fall in line, right? Otherwise you get squished. They have no remorse. They don't care. If you're not the strongest person in the room, you're the weakest person in the room. There is no second place. It is just whoever's the strongest is the rightest. And that is not a perspective that Americans can really focus on anymore. Like, we don't understand that perspective anymore. It's been very far removed from our culture. We do understand some participation and, competitive nature and things like that. But even that's kind of been like toned down, right? Everybody gets a participation trophy for our generation. So it's kind of scary to see that our country with that mentality needs to compete against another country that has no moral or ethical qualms about squishing the ever living shit out of us, because if they want to be number one, that's what they have to do. And he was like, man, you have that dialed in really well. And I was like, terrifying. That is fucking terrifying to me. Right? Because I've read enough of their books, and I'm like, man, all of these dudes think about this shit the same damn way. So it's kind of crazy to me.
Well, luckily we have the woke agenda that's going to rise our country to the top, and we're going to produce the fittest fighters and the most inclusive, I don't know, bastion.
I was going to bring that up too, Jesse.
Oh, God.
We were looking at military readiness, right? And if a world war were to break out right now, we're not ready for that. Not only do we have dwindled supplies because we've been doling out weapons and armor and ammunition to Ukraine and Israel constantly. So we have been dwindling our supplies. Our national gas reserves are low because Biden dipped into those. And our military just kicked out anyone and everyone who refused the shot. Okay. Their recruiting numbers at all-time lows. They cannot recruit people because the people that traditionally want to go to the military no longer want to go to a military force. And, LGBTQ, whatever, alphabet people don't want to go to the military. So what does the military have to recruit from anymore? And what is our military readiness going to look like if shit actually pops off and we're drafting people? Right. And the only reason we have to draft people is because we have a massive boots on ground operation in multiple freaking countries. Like, that's not going to be pretty for us.
No.
That's not going to be pretty for our young people.
Well, vote Kamala, get war. That's the way it's going to go down.
I mean, it is really actually terrifying to look at what we have, this set of data that we have in front of us, and go, what if one thing just goes wrong? I mean, it's dominoes set up for it to go wrong. It's not good. It's really not good.
It's a scary thought.
It is scary.
You ready to go back to war? You ready to go re-enlist?
I think my freaking serving days are over and behind me. I don't know if a military branch would take me at this point. I'm old. I'm way outside of the weight regulations nowadays.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, when you get that gym, start working out. Get ready. Get ready to run that 12-minute mile.
Well,
Scooch.
I'd be lucky to get a 50-minute mile right now.